Farmers in Ghana are being celebrated today with a call on government to, among other things, revamp the Northern Star tomato factory at Palugu. Not just that, while some small-scale tilapia farmers are expressing worry over the gradual collapse of their businesses due to the takeover by Chinese companies, most farmers are also saying they are yet to enjoy the benefit of farming in Ghana.
Our work is extremely difficult. Sometimes roads in areas where we buy our fishing input are in a very deplorable state. It is rather unfortunate that we are handed such a deal when it comes to these annual awards.
This year's Farmers' Day is celebrated under the theme Transform Ghana, Invest in Agriculture. The theme begs the question, how much have we as a country invested in agriculture?
One of the reasons why agriculture is not doing well is because of the paltry budget allocation to the sector. Now, in 2015, we are at rock bottom. The growth in agriculture this year is 0.04%.
Have farmers from cocoa to peasant farmers been treated fairly over the years? How far or near are we to transforming Ghana through investment in agriculture? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Farmers' Day is set aside to celebrate farmers, but most farmers say they are yet to see the importance of this day since they haven't so far enjoyed the full benefit of the day. More seriously also is the concern about the dwindling fortunes of the agricultural sector and the blame on government's failure to invest in the sector. Let's listen to members of parliament who are obviously unhappy about the situation.
In 2009, the NDC government spent 3% of budget in agriculture. In 2012, it dwindled from 3% to 1.9%. 2013, 1.103%. 2014, it went further to 1.04%. There's a need for the NDC government to spend more in agriculture, because it's unfortunate that, Mr. Speaker, we can be importing condomble from Côte d'Ivoire in this time of Ghana. So as much as we want to congratulate our hard-working farmers and fishermen, their challenges need to be addressed, and that's what I'm trying to bring to the fore, Mr. Speaker, for us all to see how best we could help our hard-working farmers and fishermen.
That's not all. The farmers themselves have serious challenges. Let's listen.
Our work is extremely difficult. Sometimes roads in areas where we buy our fishing input are in a very deplorable state. It is rather unfortunate that we are handed such a deal when it comes to these annual awards.
It appears we the fisher folk are relegated to the background when it comes to the annual Farmers' Day awards. It is really sad.
Indiscriminate dumping of solid waste is having a serious toll on our harvest. The bumper harvest this community is noted for has now become a thing of the past.
Well, government says it's working round the clock to resolve challenges facing the sector. The Greek minister, Fifi Kwete, at this year's Farmers' Day said there is hope at the end of the tunnel.
Possible within our rural communities, working with smallholder farmers, to have agriculture that is thriving, that is sustainable, and that does not have to require subsidies, that does not have to complain necessarily even about high interest rates. Because within even the interest rates that are prevailing, much as we will work towards reducing them, these small farmers have shown that they are capable of rising to the occasion and being profitable, but not only them, but also creating the kind of profitability for various aspects of the value chain, from banks to input suppliers to the people who are supplying mechanization services and other people like aggregators, all the way to the final consumer. Now, Mr. Chairman, what it is we envisage to do is to take the success that we have gotten from this Northern Rural Growth Program and take it nationwide. That's why in August of this year, we launched the Ghana Agricultural Sector Investment Project, which is taking this success and taking it across every length and breadth of Ghana, in order for us to be able to bring about a transformation as far as agricultural value chains are concerned. Now, Mr. Chairman, I wish to also emphasize that even though there are weather difficulties as creating some amount of uncertainty as far as agricultural production is concerned, part of the reason why this year we've not been able to have the levels of growth that we have seen in the previous years. In the previous years, we have actually seen growth. In 2009, agriculture grew by 7.2%. In 2010, 5.3%. In 2011, there was a slight reduction that took it down to about 1%. In 2012, it went back to 2.3. 2013 to 5.2. 2014 to 4.6, which shows that over the last 7 years, agriculture has by and large performed admirably. Weather conditions, however, sometimes create difficulties. Part of the reason why this year, 2015, as a result of very inclement weather, agriculture has not been able to have the higher levels of growth. But we are happy that because of the resilience, we've not gone back to some of the negative growth that we saw in previous years before 2009. The important thing to stress, however, is that if we work together ensuring that the various value chains get the necessary investment, some of which investment we have seen in recent years with the massive road that are being constructed across the length and breadth of the Ghana, using cocoa as a leveraging capacity in order to affect various other areas in terms of road construction. This investment, together with other investment that we expect from various players, especially the private sector, we should be able to bring agriculture to where it belongs.
Let's do some analysis now, and with me in the studio is Philip Abayare. He's former president of Ghana Farmers Association and also president of the Agric Chamber of Commerce. You're welcome to today's big story.
Thank you very much.
Let's look at the theme for the day: transform Ghana, invest in agriculture. Has there been enough investments in the area of agric?
I will say no, because under the Maputo Declaration, all the African countries resolved that they were going to put 10% of their national budgets in agriculture. But we generally have not been able to achieve that.
Right.
I also want to digress in the issue of investing in agriculture, because if we are not very careful, I think that government is overburdened by leading the agricultural sector. This is a very wide sector.
All right.
The amount of money that is needed to run the sector cannot be put in a national budget. What can be put in a national budget is for public good. That is for infrastructure development. There are certain infrastructure that private people will not be able to because of the magnitude.
That must definitely
or
come from
because
government.
of the economic benefits of it. It has a long-term implications. And when they look at it, it's rather to help social intervention than profit-oriented.
So that will be left for government.
Private people will want to put their money where they can get a fast turnover. So budgets of this nature needs to be made one on issues relating to public good. That is irrigation, which is one of the necessities, as you hear the minister speaking about the weather, right, which has cumulated to reduce agricultural growth this year. Yeah. Ghana has only developed 1% of its agricultural potential, whilst Pakistan and India 49 to 59% of their irrigation systems, indicating that if there's no rain in Pakistan, they will still have food. Now in Ghana, if there is no rain, we are lucky we are even having no food still because the farmers have been able to harvest something. Exactly. That means we'll have nothing. Right. So for the public good, if government is making a budget, then the direction should be in irrigation. Right. But what is happening is that sometimes government pulls itself so thin because the agriculture sector is so wide, the resources are too small and they are spread. Right. So for that reason, the issues relating to the investment that is needed in the sector will be seen in a smaller quantum. So there is an issue relating to investment. So I think that there's the need for more investment in the sector, especially in the road sector, and also irrigation should be one. And another mitigating fact should be agricultural credit. Right. You see, Ghana has been doing well if you look from the 70s to the 90s up to the 2000s in agriculture. Right. And the reason was just for one single policy. The policy was that 20%, there was a law that says 20% of all banks' loan facilities should be put in agriculture. Right. And that gave business people the advantage to be able to pick up loans, buy tractors on their own. Government was not bringing tractors. Government is not intervening. Though government is subsidizing behind. Yeah. But it was not fully in the, neck of government. Right. But today, the issue has come that government need to budget to buy tractors for private people. Which shouldn't be, because if government, so there's a need for a new policy direction so that at least the private sector, and that has brought a new policy known as the MITASIP. And the MITASIP clearly states that private people should take the role of the private sector. And that needs to be enhanced. There need to be incentives to allow the private people to enter in, so that private people will take over the transportation, the provision of agricultural mechanization, tractors, good seeds, and then also what government will do is that if the prices of food is escalating, then government will see let's subsidize by subsidizing fertilizer or subsidizing in any manner to allow the prices to go down. Okay. But for now, government is leading. Okay. Government needs to go and borrow from the World Bank, borrow from the IMF, borrow from IFAD to do agricultural activities. But mostly you realize that even geared towards trying to do private-oriented activities. And I think that the private sector needs to be responsive, because where there are challenges is where there is business. Okay. And looking at the gaps that exist relating to agriculture could also be a turnaround point for us to be able to also enhance at least productivity, create industries, and also ensure. But that should be a government policy direction where there are incentives. Currently, if you are looking for long-term facilities or medium-term, it is very difficult. Okay. And short-term facilities, loans cannot do agriculture, because you have 1 year, you have 3 years, you have 5 years, you even have to 16 years. Right. In that manner, where are you going to get money at 36%, even the rate? Right. At 36%, it's very expensive. Okay. So the new direction should be that we should be able to create an environment that allows the private sector to be able to borrow, in a medium to long term, at very affordable rates to take over where government is really overburdened, so that the agricultural sector can move smoothly. But the emphasis that government must invest in the irrigation and major infrastructure to ensure that at least the sector is able to grow in a more faster rate.
This year, for instance, we did not do well. If you look at the agri sector, we scored very low points. I know one of the factors is because we didn't have enough rainfall. What are the other factors that accounted for this?
You see, the factors are many. As I said, if you look at budgeting, the quantum of amount of money that is needed to be able to do certain activities. And that's why I say government has veered a little into private sector oriented activity, which stretches it very thin. Okay. So the resources that are put in the agricultural sector, in quantum, they look big, but the spread is very thin. Okay. And for that reason, the impact is very minimal. Okay. So these are one of the issues, but the weather too has contributed significantly. But I think that another issue too is that we are not adding value in a faster pace. Okay. And then coupled with that, the imports are coming in so hugely in competition with what we have competitive advantage to grow.
Right.
And if even there's a lot of support coming into the sector and we don't really look at our systems to be able to ensure that we are looking at quality and regulation. If take poultry chicken, for example, currently the poultry farmers have produced 40% of our national need.
Okay.
But nobody is going to them to buy.
Right.
Because you have cheap imports coming in.
Yeah.
Now, what we could do is that we are all bound by WTO laws and rules and regulations. But we need to look at the health needs of our people. Okay. Will we allow 6 years chicken or 5 years chicken to come to Ghana? Will we allow some particular, I mean, we need to use regulations and standards to look at the quality of what our people will eat, because that impacts on our livelihood, our life expansion, and also our health.
Exactly.
So that if we realize that chicken which is 2 years or 5 years and etc. is not of good quality, then we can ask for 6 months chicken that we want to be imported. We are not contravening the rules. Okay. In that case, our farmers who are here will be cheaper, we can compete fairly.
Exactly.
We look at rice, we look at all that. I have opportunity of talking to some of the vendors who are into importation of large-scale rice and etc. And they tell me, they say, look, if you can produce the same rice that we have, what the lands in Vietnam and China, they are like, Philippines is like Ghana.
I think we'll take a short break on today's big story, and when we come back, we'll continue with the discussion. This is today's big story. We're talking about Farmers' Day and how farmers... I think that farmers play a critical role in all of this discussion. They are, the farmers and fishermen are in the center of this discussion. How much have we empowered them? I know about some amount of money that has been channeled to, for instance, the North to help in farming. How has all of these empowered the ordinary farmer?
You see, so much needs to be done, and that's why I'm saying that the private sector needs to be responsive to take advantages of the opportunities that exist. In circumstances, talking about how the farmers will benefit, you need a value chain, and a value chain means that the farmer is doing production, somebody is providing the inputs, somebody is doing agricultural mechanization, somebody is harvesting for them, and somebody comes to pick, and then somebody has to transport, and somebody has to, pay for and warehouse. Now, if you look at our situation, the farmer himself harvests and he has to dry, he has to carry it to the market. That is not a farmer's job. And currently, when we mean the value chain that is coming, there are people that we think that are now being trained as aggregators. They should create the market. We currently have the Ghana Agricultural Exchange. And the exchange is such that at least it will bring more synergy in the market. You realize that even weighing the agricultural produce, the farmer gets cheated because people are going to look at his produce by virtualization, that they want the bag to be long. Right. They want the bowl to be full and overflown without weight. When the farmer goes to buy fertilizer, he buys it in kilograms. If his acreage is being plowed, it's plowed in hectares or acres. Right. And he buys chemicals in liters. So these are all the things that need to be addressed for a farmer to be able to benefit from what he does. It is not going to be easy for government to dole money from public sector to put in private sector. But all it is that the
But there are things that government can do. For instance, fertilizer and those like farm inputs, there's waiver on tax, or they don't even pay tax for those. Those are some of the things government can do.
That is tax exemptions.
Right.
You see, it shouldn't be that government should even buy fertilizer for farmers. You see, in an ideal situation, the farmers are doing business. The only thing is that if that fertilizer cost is too high,
subsidize.
Then government will look at it and say, let me subsidize it so that my farmers could have average.
But is it happening? Is that what we are seeing now?
See, the agricultural sector is too wide, and the subsidy that is being offered, the amount that is involved, if government want to subsidize the whole entire fertilizer for Ghana, there won't even be money for any other sector. The sector is big. So what we are saying is that we should look at more ingenious ways. Subsidies are not sustainable if you do not have the money lying down there. But you need to create a system that allows people to profit. I'll give you an example. If I produce my rice and mill it, and rice is 200 Ghana per 50 kilo, I also sell it at 200 Ghana as per the imported rice, if my rice has good quality.
Right.
So I'll be making money.
Okay.
But the issue is that my cost of production is what should be looked at. Am I having the needed technologies to be able to reduce my cost? Right. Am I able to produce to get the good yields? This goes to science, where government needs to invest in CSR. Science, I mean, these institutions to be able to propagate high-yielding seeds, seeds that can resist drought. Government public good to be able to create the irrigation systems in a faster pace so that we can move from 1% to 10% to 20%. Look at other areas where public good train, I mean, very qualified personnel to be able to man various sectors like the agronomists, the entomologists, the irrigation experts, the engineers, and even, I mean, some administrators.
Hasn't it taken us too long a time to get to this stage?
We have been there before, but
so what happened?
We have been there before, but within the 80s, there were challenges based on the arrangements where you have the economic recovery program that came to being. Ghana was doing about almost 90% of its rice within the 70s to the 80s.
That was great.
And poultry, livestock,
and compared to
we
now,
were even
how
doing our corn beef.
How much are we doing now?
That's why you could see from the figures that changes have come in because of certain factors. And the factors that I want to come in is that they didn't start today.
Okay.
Because major infrastructure for post-harvest and the value chain existed since independence.
Okay.
You have Ghana Food Distribution, which will pick the produce in farm gate from the farmer.
Right.
So somebody was there to buy. In the poultry, you had various aggregators who were also buying poultry. Then you go to the rice sector, you had rice mills, which was a government agency. Food distribution was also buying. But the issue is that why governments had to go out is because of the structural adjustment program. Government was, according to those that give money, the Bretton Woods institutions that give money to government and support, say, look, you cannot continue to crowd out the private sector. Agricultural production, marketing, and etc. is a private sector activity. So go out and let the private sector take place. The mistake we did is that though we had the post-harvest storage and everything, including processing, we didn't transfer it directly to the private sector. Government should have turned that immediately to equity. And float those companies for farmers or people interested in agribusiness to invest in them and take over the management, so that today you would have had food distribution as a giant storage food system, and then also running and employing people. You have rice mills milling the rice. I mean, this didn't happen because of some small mistakes that we have done, and for now we need to start in a scratch again. So government now is looking for money, putting GASIP, commercial agriculture. So these are the the factors. But the issue now is that the private sector need to also join, because business opportunities have been created. So the farmer who is down as a subsistence farmer can produce for an outgrower farmer or an outgrower aggregator who has the muscle to buy and create a market opportunity.
But you made a fine argument that Ghana, whereas we have achieved just 1% of our
irrigation potential.
Which country you said?
Pakistan is about 59, and India.
About 59 in India.
So when there's no rain.
And so if there's no rain, they still don't have to complain because they have measures in place. How do we also emulate these examples?
You see, sorry for my assertion. You see, we seem sometimes to put politics in everything.
Exactly, we've politicized
but in agriculture, politics is doesn't have a place in agriculture.
It doesn't help
because we all eat. When you are eating,
whether
you don't say I'm from this
politician
political
or not,
party and etc.
You'll be hungry.
But because we have the tendency of politicizing everything, it has become a football field for everybody to be able to, do propaganda.
Exactly.
But we need to use realism.
Right.
And realism will be that we all know it is a national security to have food to feed our people in an affordable way.
Right.
We know we need food security. So we join hands to do things that will really sustain the agricultural sector. I give an example. If a government come in and is going to do 4 years and decided that, look, I want to bring agriculture from irrigation from 1% to 5%. And it moves it to 5% every year. It does certain things. And that government goes out of power, and we have moved only irrigation to 10%. The government has achieved a lot.
A lot, because you have fed a lot of people.
If another government come and say, look, I am looking at some systems of supporting industry So I'm going to create only agricultural industry, build, operate, and transfer. After 4 years, if I go, in 20 years, we will reach where we want to reach.
We'll reach where we
but
want to reach.
But if you want to do everything, you have limited resources and you want to do so much, you will end up by not being able to achieve anything. And I think it's because of the way we have politicized the system.
You may have wasted
time. So I think we need to be conscious of that.
Of that. Many thanks to Philip Abayori. He is president of the Ghana Agric Chamber of Commerce and former president of the Farmers and Fishermen Award Winners Association. Many thanks for your time on today's Big Story. We've been talking about the Farmers' Day and challenges facing farmers. Some farmers say they haven't even enjoyed the full benefits of farming. Talk less of enjoying the award or the day that celebrates farmers. We've been also talking about the theme that says that we are transforming Ghana through investment in agric, and we asked the question, how much have we invested in agric? My name is Aisha, and many thanks for your time. Good evening.